Hello everybody, this is Mark Thompson, your Lexis rep, and today we're going to talk about the Legal Research Certification exam on Lexis. This exam shows employers that you know how to research effectively. Once you're done with the exam, you'll be able to put it on your resume, but also your name will appear on the LexisNexis certification page under Legal Research Certification. Employers can search for you by name or by school, and it lists what year you took the exam. This link to this page is on the handout that I'm going to reference during the training. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab this handout. It's going to be really helpful as we go through the training, but also when you go to take the exam. The link to the handout is on the same place that you got the video, so training at my school at lexisnexis.com/law school, Legal Research Certification exam. So the handout's there as well as the link to the exam in this video. So in the hypothetical that we've given, we have somebody who's on campus, who's tweeting and causing a disruption at school. He says that's a free speech issue, but he's been expelled. So we need to find out whether or not there's special rights for students on campus or whether there's limitations to free speech. A lot of this will be a review from your legal research class, so I'll go through it pretty quickly. But the senior partner has said there's a case he remembers from law school called Tinker versus Des Moines, but doesn't remember the site. Obviously, you'd want a site, but if you don't have one, try typing it into the big red search box. So Tinker versus Des Moines is a major case, so it starts to populate. So I'll go ahead and click on that to pull up Tinker. Once Tinker comes up, obviously the first thing you'd want to do is skim the case summary. So the procedural posture, what the lower courts did, the overview, which are the facts, so what are the facts of this case, and then the outcome, which is who won. This isn't the holding. Remember, the head notes are the holdings of the case in the language of the court. So these are the rules on point. And we'll come back to these, but these are the rules that we need to know from Tinker. But the first thing I want to do now that I know this case is relevant is to shepherdize this case. Our attorney says he remembers it from law school, and he's a little bit older, so I want to make sure that this case is still good law. So I'm going to click on Shepherdize this document. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Shepherds to open the Shepherds report. Now remember guys, there are 4 tabs in the Shepherds report: appellate history, citing decisions, other citing sources, and table of authorities. You're really only going to use these 2 in basic legal research: citing decisions and other citing sources. Citing decisions tell you how courts have treated your law. Is this good law or bad law, and how have courts treated it? Other citing sources link you to secondary material that's going to be helpful as you do your research. So secondary sources, treatises, that kind of thing, anything that's cited to your case. So that'll help you really to understand it. Citing decisions, other citing sources, those are the tabs you want. So I know that Tinker is helpful, but I want to do a search to see what other case law is out there. So I'm going to do, just from here, a really simple search for internet student speech. Kind of some Google-like terms, and I'm going to spell student right there, sorry about that. Student, internet, student, and speech. So just some general terms. I'm not going to worry about doing terms and connectors just yet. I like to search everything because I want to make sure I see everything that's out there. So I don't like doing pre-search filters. You can, but I want to go ahead and say search everything for now. So we start in cases, but you guys remember from legal research, you always want to start with a secondary source. Somebody's probably already done your work for you, so always start with secondary materials, not with primary law. Problem is I've got over 10,000, so that's still kind of a lot. So I want to filter again. And there's a lot of law reviews, but this probably isn't something that's super emerging, so it's probably going to be covered in a treatise. So I'm going to go ahead and filter by treatises and see what the settled law is on this. We still have kind of a lot, so I'm going to scroll down and see if I see any of the Matthew Bender treatises that we've talked about. And actually, there is. Rap on Education Law is one of the seminal treatises I know that's really going to help me. So under sources, I'm going to filter again by Rap on Education Law. And I see the treatise section that I want. This 3-9 actually talks exactly about student speech, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And the reason you start with a secondary source is because the secondary source is going to explain what the law is. So this explains that there are special rules for students on campus, that they have limited free speech rights under the First and 14th Amendments to protect student safety. So this explains what the rules are. Also, everywhere that this makes a point it has to cite a case. So that's the reason you start with secondary sources. A secondary source is going to tell you what the rules are, but then also going to link you to primary law so that you understand it to really make sure that you're not missing anything. Okay? So I want to see if anything has changed in my search, so maybe a recent law review. So I'm just going to use my back button to go back to my results. And I'm going to remove my filters for treatises and rap. And I'm going to filter one more time by law reviews. I'm doing this so if you ever do a search and you filter and you don't like the filters, you can always unfilter. Just stay in your search, try again. And then we saw a second ago that one of the terms that we use in the secondary source was student cyber speech. So I'm going to search for student, which I keep misspelling, cyber speech. Now keep in mind, guys, this little white search box down here works differently than the big red search box at the top, okay? The big red search box at the top, you can do a natural language search like we did, a Google type search. You could also do a terms and connectors search or type in a case, anything you want. This little white search box is only terms and connectors, so don't try to do a natural language search here. You do have to use terms and connectors. But student cyber speech is a term of art, so I'm not worried about having to put that in quotation marks or do any connectors, so that's exactly the phrase I want. Just don't try to do this like a Google search in the little white search box. You have to do those up top. And just like I did before, I'm going to use the law reviews to link to primary law. So I could read any one of these to find out something that's happened recently that's changed since Tinker. But now I want to do one more search, so I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So I'm going to, from my big red search box, type in internet/5 student speech. Well, I just said don't use quotation marks, but so why am I using quotation marks here? Reason being is because I saw student speech as a legal phrase, but I'm not 100% sure it is a legal phrase. If you're ever confused as to whether or not something's a legal phrase and it's going to stay together, go ahead and put it in quotation marks. If it is a legal phrase, they won't do anything, but they won't hurt anything either. But if it isn't a legal phrase, it'll keep the phrase together. So I want internet within 5 words of student speech. I'm going to copy this for 1 second, guys, because I want to show you, if you know how to do that off the top of your head, great, type it in the search box. But if not, remember there is an advanced search link at the top here that'll help you to craft a search that's a terms and connectors search. I knew how to do it, but I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. But if you need the advanced search link, it's right there. And again, I'm going to search everything. So there are only 8 cases that involve internet within 5 of student speech. I don't know if you remember a minute ago, but when we did that search, internet, student, and speech, we got over 10,000 cases. And this is why you always want to make sure you wrap up your research with a terms and connectors search or a Boolean search, because you're only going to see the cases that are exactly on point, so it doesn't waste your time. A natural language search is a good place to start, but always wrap it up with a terms and connectors search. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Evans versus Beyer. This looks really good right here, so I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And this gives me a fact pattern that involves killing the math teacher and posting stuff on Facebook. So this is really exactly on point. The only difference is it's Facebook instead of Twitter, but that doesn't matter. So I would keep reading at this point and then go into the LexisNexis headnotes. Remember, the Lexis headnotes are the rules in the language of the court. We don't write these, so if you're looking for a rule, for a case that stands for a specific rule, skim the headnotes to find the rules on point. So using these, we can understand what the rules are for student speech and for First Amendment. But again, before we wrap everything up, I definitely need to shepherdize this, so I'm going to go ahead and shepherdize this case. Click on Shepherdize this document. I have my appellate history, citing decisions, just like I did before. So I want to go to citing decisions to make sure that this is still good law, and then other citing sources to make sure I haven't missed anything. All right. One last thing I want to do, guys, is go to history. I want to make sure that there aren't anything else that might help. So I'm going to go ahead and click on history and then click view all history. I can find the most recent things I did, obviously, but I want to see everything. And there's a function in history that may help you. I'm going to go, instead of the list view at the top, I want to switch over to the research map view. And the research map view gives you pictures, but also gives you a research trail and some additional functionality. So remember a second ago, I searched for internet student speech. We went to cases, secondary materials and treatises. Then after that, I searched for internet within 5 of student speech. We found 8 cases, and I opened the Bayer case. If you like the Bayer case and you want to find more cases that are just like it, you can open it from your history using the research map. Use the +1, and then click on it. Select this document to find similar. That will find more cases like your case, or more statutes like your statute, or whatever the thing is that you open. So select this document to find similar, finds more things like the thing that you selected. It's a good way of finding additional cases without having to do additional searches. All right, guys, and that's actually everything that you need for the Legal Research Certification exam. Again, make sure you review the handout because it's very similar to the exam and it'll help you when you go to take the exam. Remember that the exam is linked on the Training at My School page, so you'll be able to get to the exam there. If you have any trouble with it, feel free to reach out to me or to your Lexis associates. I hope this has been helpful to you, and again, feel free to reach out if you have questions, and good luck on the exam.